Hello everybody, What Culture Wrestling's Adam Cleary here. Yeah, I know I normally do it in the other thing, but it's a podcast, it's busy, it's just Friday afternoons, gets a bit manic. We need to talk about Cesaro. No, we do. We do. In Reddit threads the world over, when people are discussing who should follow Jon Moxley's lead, walk away from WWE, and reach the upper echelons of professional wrestling on their own terms, find themselves a role more in keeping with their abilities rather than simply where WWE see them, whose name comes up time and time again? Cesaros. Poosh Cesaro. You can't get away from that term. The guy is literally a meme in this very office. Like that whole push thing Andy does that you all like so very much. That comes from Poosh Cesaro. His underutilization has become a joke in of itself. But before we go forward with everything, let's quickly go back and look at his actual career to date. Like the guy's had a pretty interesting time in wrestling. Like he was Wrestling Observer Newsletter's most underrated performer of the year 4 years in a row. 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. 4 times. Bobby Eaton was also the recipient of that award 4 times, but not 4 years in a row. That's actually more impressive than it sounds on the surface, because wrestling fans, and I absolutely include myself in this, are really, really fickle. You, me, everybody, we're all really, really fickle. We're more changeable than hotel towels. That'll do. Don't get me wrong, that isn't our fault. Wrestling is a pseudo sport. It's meant to be received like an actual sport, but the one thing actual sport has on it is this support element, loyalty, fandom, things like that. They don't tend to carry over in wrestling because wrestling by its very nature, with its storylines, its heels and its faces, doesn't really allow you to commit to somebody quite as fully throughout their career as you would any other sort of team sport. Like, I will always like Newcastle United, even when they are objectively the bad guys. It doesn't bother me because they're still my team. You don't really get that in wrestling. Most fans will boo when they're meant to boo and cheer when they're meant to. I'm getting off topic here. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, despite the fact that you can't really follow these people the way you would in other sports, they are still immensely talented. Their work doesn't actually change based on how you think about them. And the thing is, WWE in this modern era is practically defined by how badly it misuses and underutilizes that talent. Like, the roster is incredible. It is packed with unbelievable workers that in any other generation or in any other promotion would be excelling, would be main eventers, but they're not in WWE. And as a result, that most underappreciated, underrated wrestler award there's like 1 million people in the running for it every single year, and yet somehow Cesaro still won it 4 years in a row. 4. Like, in this era totally oversaturated by TV matches, Cesaro versus John Cena on the July the 6th, 2015 episode of Raw was perhaps the most anticipated and warranted. There was an inbuilt storyline reason for it. Kevin Owens had interfered to put an end to their white-hot banger the previous week, but it was so electric that WWE positioned Cena's seminal mid-card open challenge in the goddamn main event slot. In front of a molten Chicago crowd at the Allstate Arena, Cesaro and Cena absolutely tore the roof off. I could honestly bore you all to death talking about this match, but just go back and watch it at some point. It is so much better than you're actually remembering it is. Like, the psychology behind it is brilliant. The whole idea is that Cesaro cuts off Cena's deadliest weapon the whole way throughout. He is stronger than him. He stops him using his strength. There's some, like, the spots in it are incredible. Cena goes for a shoulder tackle and Cesaro somehow turns it into a backbreaker. He gets him into a suplex and squats, which is one of the best piss-taking bits of psychology you will ever see. It was specifically designed to get this sniffy crowd on board, and it did. It's a great match. It's got this incredible back and forth template. It is a stone-cold 30-minute classic that very easily ranks amongst the absolute best Raw has ever given us on television. At the end, Cena gets on the mic and he puts over Cesaro. He says something like, "What you can do in this ring is beyond belief," or "it defies belief," or "it's unbelievable," or something like that. And I know Cena does that kind of stuff all the time, but that's usually when the cameras are on him to sort of make him seem like a worthy winner. He did this after the cameras were off, purely to put him over in front of the crowd. This match showcased once and for all that Cesaro is one of the best in-ring workers in WWE, but also proved that WWE don't care about that fact. Like, they don't care how good he is in the ring. Cast your minds back to when he debuted with his, weird foreign menace intellectual superior gimmick. Remember that? I can speak 5 languages and you dumbass Americans can barely speak 1, and you had to borrow that to begin with. Like, it didn't get over. Nobody really cared. It was weird. It was boring. It didn't make a lot of sense. And they gave him all these squash matches, which didn't really allow him to showcase how good he was. It was just so unthought out. Then, of course, he caught a bad case of the such good shit when Vince McMahon took one look at him and went, "Ah, European, the best thing for you to do would be to yodel your way to the ring, to yodel your way to your opponents." Like, yodeling. They had him do that. Think about yodeling for a second. Like, someone screaming in your face. It's annoying, it's quite scary. Someone whispering in your ear, it's annoying and it's quite sinister. But yodeling, like, if someone yodeled at you, what response is there to that other than just going, why are you yodeling? What's wrong with you? Then there was the headphones, then there was the Chippendale pants, then there was all the forgettable reigns with the United States Championship, and then there was the weird entrance theme tunes, like what was that, Fratelli's cover of a Jimmy Hart tune, and it's just, like, they clearly knew they had a main event workhorse on their hands, but, like, they couldn't give him an identity, or at least one that didn't suck. But then eventually he settled into this role as a dependable, exciting, inventive tag team performer, because WWE did not trust him as a bankable, marquee, singles star. And the reason for that is, well, the best way to put it is that he is really, really good at lots of things that are not compatible with the sports entertainment model of storytelling. He is a very talented man, but not in any of the ways WWE wanted him to be. Basically, the bottom line is he cannot navigate these weird opening segments that WWE require their main eventers to navigate. Like that 20-minute thing at the start of Raw where you've got to come out and spout absolute rubbish instead of just wrestling. WWE needs that as part of their broadcast. If you can't do it, you can't be in it. And if you can't be in it, you can't be in the main event regularly either. Like, this might change under Bischoff and Heyman, but unless it does, WWE's opinion of Cesaro will not change either. And I'm not trying to bury the guy here. Cesaro is a capable talker, let's just say, but he would be no good in these witty back and forth overlong television segments. So, like, it's so dumb. Like, objectively, who cares about any of that? I don't, you don't, we just want to see him wrestle, but WWE really do care about that, and it's kind of their opinion that matters. And it's this mentality that is the reason why Lacey Evans gets more opportunities than Asuka, why Baron Corbin has been Seth Rollins' main rivalry and not Andrade. It doesn't matter how good you are in that very ring, if you haven't got verbal polish, you cannot be a main eventer for them. And I know precisely what you're thinking. What about Brock, Adam? You absolute idiot. The perma-pushed, omnipresent redneck Thanos who cuts precisely all promos. What about him? Well, he has Paul Heyman, doesn't he? Which is fine, but Vince hates people having managers. But then again, Brock is Brock, and Brock is an exception, and Brock can have whatever Brock wants, so Brock gets to have Heyman, but because nobody else is Brock, nobody else gets to be an exception, and thus nobody else gets to have a manager. Valets, yes, everyone can have a valet if they want, but not a manager. And the difference is, well, it's pretty subtle, but let's just put it this way. Valets don't really do anything, whereas managers do quite a lot. Like, take Zelina Vega, for example. She is an excellent valet, but she doesn't really do anything. She does the tranquilo thing on the ring and yells a bit, but she does not manage Andrade. And per report, Vince loves Andrade in the ring, but will not let him anywhere near the main event until, lo and behold, he learns English. And yes, I know WWE did literally once put Cesaro with Heyman, but that was like back then, and that whole Paul Heyman guy thing with him and Axel and Ryback really was not very good, and is part of the reason apparently why they don't like having managers now, so don't bring that up. But the thing is, right, when you factor in all these rules that WWE have and how Cesaro doesn't fit in the way they want him to fit, there is still the case that when you have a lot of support, when you have all these people behind you, sometimes they will forget about all this. They'll tear up their plans, they'll tear up what they think, and simply do what the fans want because they demand it. Like Becky did it last year, Kofi did it this year, and you could very easily make the argument that Cesaro is a better wrestler than both of them. Maybe even both of them combined. So why don't they? Well, and this is the thing I keep coming back to every time I see Poosh Cesaro all over the internet. For all he is a great in-ring professional wrestler, he just lacks that thing, doesn't he? That intangible quality that would convince WWE to overlook his lack of mic skills. He always gets a reaction when he comes out, doesn't he? He always gets a reaction whenever he does something, but he never gets that huge pop. He gets himself over in matches because he's so creative and so talented and so original and so good to watch, but he always has to work to do that. Whereas your Beckys, your Kofis, anybody who is organically over in a way that he is not, can post a 5 out of 10 TV match and still have the crowd eating out of the palm of their hand by the end of it. Like, I'll put it this way, Cesaro gets over because of all his matches, never in spite of them. I would just like to quickly say before everybody piles into the comments that absolutely sucks and is not fair in the slightest. The guy's one of the most talented wrestlers on that roster, probably one of the most talented wrestlers in the entire world, and yet he can't get a main event push because he doesn't dazzle management in one of the 5 languages he speaks. In any other profession, in any other wrestling promotion, he would be the most qualified person in that building, yet somehow in WWE it all seems to count against him. But we should probably address the big question in all of this. Does hope remain for Cesaro at the very top of the card in WWE? Well, if they don't change the framework of the company, if they don't change the framework of all their narratives, then absolutely not. No, it doesn't. If they still want people to come out and cut these really long promos and do these contract signings where everybody has to talk, even if they really should not be talking, then no, he isn't ever going to do those, so he's never going to be in the main event. And I just want to make sure this is all in your head as I'm saying this. I am not saying for 1 second that the guy is some kind of charisma vacuum, because he's not, is he? Like, in the bar, he had this great, smug prick side to him, and he always seems to carry himself with an air of a man who knows precisely how good at wrestling is. But unfortunately, he can't do these witty banter segments where he calls somebody a dork or does an impression of his opponent, and that matters more to WWE than anything he can do in that ring. Somehow. It's baffling, really, when you stop and think about it. Those matches with John Cena that I mentioned before are genuinely amongst the best Raw has ever offered. When he was on NXT, he was one of the reasons why it was a destination event for brilliant pro wrestling. And his tag team career, man, we always forget about this. We don't really seem to care as much because it's not a singles push, but he has put on a series of just consistently brilliant, exciting, original, creative tag team matches with a variety of partners and opponents. Like, his tag team catalog is excellent. He has succeeded there, but again, we just don't care because it's not a singles push. And you know what it is? Maybe the more important thing in all of this is that Cesaro himself actually seems to be quite happy with how his career has gone. Like, he was backing up Seth Rollins' claims that they were all working really hard and they were doing the best wrestling on the entire planet. He's definitely happy being involved in that company. And where is it? It was on the Edge and Christian pod last year, and he said, "I've been with the company almost 6 years, and that's not really long if you look at some of the past superstars and how long it took them to win the world title. So I always try to keep that in perspective as well." So, it's just... Right, here's the thing, Cesaro fans. We always think about him as this potential world champion, as a potential universal champion and all this stuff like that. But just read what he says. Look at his body language. The guy genuinely appears to be happy with his career. Maybe if we took a step back, we would be happy with it as well. Yes, he might not have achieved every little thing he could have achieved, but who does? All that being said, though, the mental image of the guy genuinely shredding Will Ospreay in midair in some really important match in Japan somewhere down the line is... God, we deserve that, don't we, as wrestling fans? We deserve to see Cesaro in the G1 or just, yeah, doing a Moxley. Oh well, anyway, those are my 2 cents on Cesaro, or whatever the currency, the penny version of it is in Switzerland. What's in Switzerland? Might still be the euro, actually. So yes, my 2 cents on Cesaro. Let us know what you make of it all in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But in the meantime, though, thank you so much for watching. I've been Adam Cleary, and I will see you soon. I'm not ripping my buttons for you. It wasn't. You thought it was a thing. It's not a thing. It's regular buttons. Look. See? That. Bye.